creeps. Andy here, and about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I made a video of horror movies that were better than their books. And you guys had left a few comments like, oh, can you do the reverse? Can you do books that are better than the movies? And recently, I came across that video and I was like, I never did that. So that is what I'm doing today. I'm doing horror books that are better than their movies. So let's just get started. I got a few to get through. Ow, my finger. First one that we have here is The Brilliant, The Ruins by Scott Smith. So many people, this is one of their favorite horror books because it is so incredibly written. This is a fantastic book. It's about a group of friends who go to Mexico and they get stuck on these ruins, and the indigenous people there will not let them leave. They don't know why at first, and it turns out that the plants aren't just plants. It's creepy, it's gross, it's fun. I always read a quote about being so hungry that burning flesh makes them hungry. It's a great book. And the movie's okay, but I don't know, when you talk about plants that aren't just plants, I don't know. The movie just isn't as creepy as the book. I feel like the book does such a great job of making you feel like you're there with the characters, of making you think, what would I do in that situation? How would I solve this problem? You can feel their hunger. That kind of stuff is missed out on in the movie. I mean, obviously, the books are always a little bit more, I think, visceral than the movies are. And the movie is still fun to watch, and I think worth the watch because I think he wrote the script to the movie too. I'll have to double check that. But I think he did have something to do with the movie. And so the movie is interesting because the characters are mixed around and some of the plots are different. The ending's very different. So it's worth checking out both. But the book is just, I mean, it is just great. One of the best horror books ever written. Another book that I think is better than the movie is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I talk about this book a lot. I've done a movie versus book on probably all of these. I'll leave them all linked down below in case you want a more in-depth comparison. But this one was directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It's about a couple with their daughter who goes into the woods for a vacation. People break in and tell them that they must willingly sacrifice one of them to save the world or the world will end. And so it's written in a way where you don't really know what to believe, or even if there is a definitive answer. One of the characters is very religious and is more open to the idea of things that are unbelievable, whereas the other guy is very set in reality and he's not religious and he definitely does not believe it. It's a very interesting read, but yeah, it is a little bit open for interpretation. I know some people don't like that, but I absolutely love Paul Tremblay. I think he's one of the best writers of our generation, and this book is brilliant. The movie is okay, but the whole point of the book is that you don't know, right? It's like, it's up to the reader to decide. And in fact, I've read this book twice, and one time I was like, oh, the world's ending, and the other time I'm like, it's not ending. You know, like you can even feel differently about how you feel reading the book if you read it multiple times. And the ending of the book, or the ending of the movie, is definitely decided for you, and I thought that that was just such a shame. And I feel like you kind of missed the point of the book there, bud, Mr. M. Night, because that's what the whole book is about. It's about being subjective. And I think that he could have done it in a way that kept true to the book, that, you know, still kept the integrity of the book, but was still entertaining. I just feel like a lot of the important stuff in the book was just completely glossed over or neglected in the movie, and I felt really, really, really disappointed by that. It's a mediocre movie. It's a fantastic book. Check that one out if you haven't. Next up, Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Now again, I cannot keep my books on the tables. They are always falling. Oh no, there goes another one. No, don't do it. No, no. Now this is definitely an iconic horror film, and one that I do revisit from time to time, and there are very creepy parts of it and parts that are like ingrained in my memory from being a kid watching a movie like this. But I think that at the end of the day, a demonic little kid baby, like you just punt it. You know what I mean? Like it's just not as creepy as it is to see versus to read in a book. This is about Lewis Creed and his family. They move to a new town and find that there is a pet cemetery on ancient Indian burial ground where the ground has turned sour. And if you bury something there, it comes back to life, but it's not really the person that it used to be. I think we all know the story of this one. And although it is a fun movie to watch, I just don't think that as an antagonist in the movie is all that terrifying. And I think that the book just has a lot deeper themes of guilt and grief, and you just feel for the characters a little bit more in the book. And it's written so beautifully and so poetically that I think that the book just takes the cake for that one. Another one, We Have Always Lived in This Castle by Shirley Jackson. This book is fantastic, brilliant, amazing, fun. It's about two young girls who are living in their parents' house, and their parents have passed away, and you don't quite know why until a little bit later in the story, and then you find out why, and you're like, oh, okay, there's more than meets the eye here. This is a little dark and weird. It's such a fun read, and unfortunately they just made this into a movie, and I watched it and I was very confused by it. So the book is very like somber, dark. I mean, even just look at the cover, and the movie's very bright and beautiful, and I'm like, what is going on here? I was pretty confused by a lot of the choices that they made to make this into a movie, and I think it could have been really cool. I think if like a Tim Burton did something like this, you know, made it a little dark and weird, it could have been a fantastic movie. And I was just a little confused as to what was going on in the movie and like what was missed when reading the book and turning it into a full-length film. Yeah, some weird stuff, but this is still one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely adore this book. It is just a blast to read. A little bit is revealed at a time. The main character is a little girl. I think her name's Mary Cat. It's been a while since I've read this, but she is just such an interesting character. Oh, Mary Catherine, but I think they call her Mary Cat or something like that. But she's just very weird, and she does weird things. She like buries stuff in the garden, and she's just an interesting character. And I'm all for interesting main characters in books. So yeah, highly recommend this book over the movie for sure. And the last one, I don't even hate this movie, but this is Sandcastle. This is by Frederick Peters and Pierre Oscar Levy. And this is the graphic novel that inspired the movie Old. Now, I didn't even hate the movie Old, and I know a lot of people did, but I actually really enjoyed it. I liked the moral behind it. I felt that there were a lot of interesting scenes and choices. And obviously, if you read something like this, it's about people going to a beach, and depending on the movie or the book, either time is going by quickly or their cells are generating quickly. They're stuck there, so they're aging very rapidly. So obviously a huge feat to take on when directing a film like that. And I don't even hate the movie. I actually really enjoyed the movie, and I know a lot of people didn't, but there are some things that are in here that I feel like are more compelling or make more sense to the story than what was done in the movie. And I feel like M. Night has a weird way, M. Night Shyamalan, he directed this one too, has a weird way of like taking something that makes sense and then making it not make sense for the movie. I'm like, why would you change that? He just makes some interesting decisions in relation to the plots. And I'm not saying that everything's perfect in this graphic novel either. There are some things that I feel like don't exactly make sense in here too, but I feel like the story's a little bit maybe more cohesive than Old is. I made a whole video comparing the two, but then I made a separate video talking about all the plot holes that I found in the movie Old. And I may be overthinking and maybe I'm not approaching it the right way, but I was kind of confused with some of the choices in it. And so in that sense, I do like the graphic novel more. And there's also, I think, a little bit more in here that's just more interesting to read and further pushes home the point and the moral behind the movie. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, those are my books that I think are better than the movies. Go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what books you have read that you think are better than the movies. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another horror video. Bye guys!